I want to move swiftly to the question of back to Africa. Let me hear from some Rastafarians in the audience, a couple, two, about going back to Africa very specifically. Those who are really determined to go and who will be going. Anybody here who determined to go? I want, and why? Let me take the brother with the term on the right and then you after.
The reality behind repatriation, right, is that one does not just do something on the basis of emotional irrationality. One has to plan. We cannot impose ourselves upon our fellow brothers and sisters as a nation without having something in return to offer, i.e. education, funds, or technical skill. Because of the situation of the way how the West works, we as Rastafarians seldom get that opportunity.
Okay. Let me hear the brother next to you.
Yeah, the reality is that Africa, Ethiopia, and repatriation is a must for I and I as black people, because we know that we cannot survive in the West. It's a reality. We must return to our ancestral homeland. 500 years ago, from I and I ancestral was taken away from the shores of Ethiopia, Africa. The struggle has never stopped. You know, we fight in the plantation, in the hills, wherever. It's from generation to generation. And I just a living manifestation of that fight to return to our ancestral home and develop up. Because as we know, Africa right now is vulnerable. We only have to look inside the continent and see what is taking place.
When are you going?
When I go in, that is for I and I to decide. It's not for I and I to really divulge that.
Okay. Sister, would you tell me, are you about repatriation? Are you for?
I'm about repatriation for all black people. I think the reality is that Rastafarians is the spearhead of anything that to do with black people. We're the only community that says that Jah, the Almighty, is black. So we are black in our totality. So when we talk about repatriation, it's important that we build Africa, because we can see around us that Europe is going. Now thousands will die, and if they want to stay, that is their choice. But it's important for people to mentally and physically and spiritually prepare themselves to go to Africa. And when you talk about Ethiopia, you have to have a special spirituality for Ethiopia, because it's the land where the Ark of the Covenant rests. So when you're talking about the divinity of our Father, you must remember the history of our Father too.
Okay, I have no problem with that. May I go straight to Blair Greaves, the Harden Great Tory Councillor? You Jamaican, you grew up with Rastafarianism around you. Are you going? Why not?
Certainly not. That's not my intention. That's not my hopes nor my aspiration. Just as you have other races and other nations that are in different areas, different parts of the world, many of them have their spiritual roots from where they came from. But of course, the individuals who are preaching are trying to brainwash and to encourage many of our young blacks. I'm talking of where we are living now in the United Kingdom. I think it's a misconception. It's the wrong advice, the wrong approach, the wrong guidance they're giving to our young blacks that are here. I think many young blacks that are in this country, they have a part to play in society. They should stay here and avoid muddling their minds and their thoughts. No, that is wrong. To those that are the older ones that do believe in it, let them keep it that way, but do not spoil the impressionable minds of the young people. Wrong.
Marcia Dixon, the religious editor of The Voice, are you here? Marcia, what say you? Return to Africa?
I'm
going back next week.
You're going back next week? Bye. I'm an outside observer. I can understand people having longings to get back to Africa, but from where I'm sitting, sometimes it seems like a rhetoric. It's a hope that people have, but maybe aren't that interested in actually carrying it out. That's how it comes over to me.
I want to ask a curious question. Are there white Rastafarians here? Where are you going to return to? I'm not taking the mickey. It's just I need to know. What say you? Africa? What's that to do with you?
Spiritually.
You get into problems.
No, spiritually.
Tell me about it.
To Zion.
I beg your pardon?
Spiritually.
I haven't heard you.
To Zion.
The birthplace of creation.
What say you to him, Shango?
To
the white Rasta?
I'm sure he's just answered for himself. He said spiritually Zion. I cannot answer more than that.
And that's part of, you embrace that.
Well, Jah has taught us to live in fellowship with all peoples, yes? And you will find that example also in Ethiopia, that for centuries, many religions have lived side by side.
The brother behind us has had his hand up.
Yes, back to Africa. I represent the Ethiopian World Federation Incorporated. That's an organization that has been established by His Imperial Majesty for black people that's been taken out Caribbean their borders to the Caribbean. This organization has been forefront in repatriation. We know building in Ethiopia, Shashamane, that's part of the land grant that His Imperial Majesty has given to us. We rather repatriate back to Ethiopia and set up ourselves strongly and evidently so that we can represent ourselves, rather than have to push ourselves on an establishment after how many years of assimilation and tell us that we cannot work here, we cannot work there. As from the gentleman question, we rather would have said that if our four parents had gone to Ethiopia and Africa, rather than come here, where we are brutalized by the police and all the system, our children has been denigrated in all kind of way, then I would think it would be a positive and we repatriate back to Africa. We'd have been in a better position today than what we are here, discouraging jobs and things like that.
This is, I want to put it to you again as the devil, and put it sharply, very sharply. This is all fantasy, it's not real, is it? It's not real.
What is not real?
You're not going back anywhere. A lot of people aren't going.
Stay here along with you.
No, in fact,
remember we have prophesied that Babylon will fall, yes?
In fact, there are not many people are going to go, and that for the majority, it is really a fantasy. I have to put that.
Have you heard the Rastafari prophecy of Babylon will fall? We are looking at you today. You are also a political analyst.
I've heard that.
Is Babylon falling?
I don't know.
You don't know.
I'm not here to answer.
John Major.
I am not here to answer your question.
Come on.
Are
you going to leave your children here for it to come tumbling down on their head?
Well, let me come to my last question with you now and just ease up and relax.
Are you under pressure, sir?
Are you listening?
I'm listening clearly.
Aren't you an ordinary fundamentalist with misconceptions of who is God, with misconceptions of what the Trinity is?
Babylon falling or not?
Misconception of what Selassie is?
If we are confused, then we have no vision. But if from 30
You're not a real Rasta,
or 40 years ago, we can say that Babylon will fall, and we are seeing it happening now, why aren't you convinced? Why aren't you convinced?
You're not the real item. If you were the real item, you'd be baptized next Sunday.
Why?
And be in the Ethiopian Orthodox Church.
Why?
Because that's where loads of Rastas are right now.
Not really.
Oh.
Not really.
Can I say something with this?
Okay, thank you for coming, Shambo. Thank you. Is Rastafarianism a religion of such standing that Trevor Dawkins and young people like him should be required to make the sacrifice he made in order to keep the faith? You may have already reached an opinion. I will now take a few moments to consider whether I am convinced. Thank you, Shango Baku, for coming and sit there for a while. Rastafari. Thank you. Thank you, everyone else, for joining me. Stay there for a while.
The devil's advocate has finished his examination. In a moment, his judgment.